The twin moons of Nebula Station cast an ethereal glow across the bustling marketplace, their silver light mixing with the warm amber lanterns that swayed gently in the artificial breeze. 6-year-old Finn Blackwood pressed his nose against the reinforced viewing window of the observation deck, his breath fogging the glass as he watched the most spectacular sight he'd ever witnessed unfold below. "Dad, look at all the colors!" Finn exclaimed, tugging on his father's sleeve. "Are those really aliens?" Marcus Blackwood chuckled, ruffling his son's dark hair. "They're called Zolarians, son. And yes, they're as real as you and me. Just different." He knelt beside Finn, pointing toward the graceful figures moving through the crowd below. "This is the Festival of Convergence. It happens once every 5 years when their migration path brings them through our sector." Finn's wide green eyes tracked the elegant beings as they glided between the market stalls. The Zolarians were breathtakingly beautiful, with skin that shimmered like oil on water, shifting between deep purples and brilliant silvers depending on how the light caught them. They moved with an otherworldly grace that made them seem to float rather than walk. "Can we go down there? Please?" Finn bounced on his toes, his excitement barely contained. Marcus hesitated. As the chief engineer of Nebula Station, he knew the delicate balance required to maintain peace between the various species that frequented their trading post. But seeing his son's wonder-filled expression, he couldn't refuse. "All right, but you stay close to me. No wandering off." The marketplace was a sensory overload of sights, sounds, and smells. Vendors from a dozen different worlds hawked their wares while translator devices chattered in multiple languages. Finn's head swiveled constantly, trying to take in everything at once. The Zolarians were even more magnificent up close, their skin seeming to pulse with an inner light. It was while watching a group of Zolarian musicians create haunting melodies with crystalline instruments that Finn lost track of his father. One moment Marcus was beside him, the next, Finn found himself alone in the crowd, swept along by the gentle current of festival-goers. Panic began to set in as Finn realized he couldn't see his father anywhere. The friendly faces around him suddenly seemed enormous and foreign. He pushed through the crowd, calling out, but his small voice was lost in the festival's joyous noise. That's when he collided with something soft and warm, sending them both tumbling to the ground. "Oh," came a melodic voice, speaking perfect standard with just a hint of an accent that made each word sound like music. Finn looked up from where he'd fallen and felt his breath catch in his throat. A young Zolarian girl sat across from him, her iridescent skin shimmering with embarrassment. She appeared to be in her early teens, though Finn had no way of knowing that Zolarian aging worked differently than human development. Her hair was the color of starlight, flowing in soft waves around her shoulders, and her large eyes were the most beautiful shade of violet he'd ever seen. "I'm sorry," Finn stammered, scrambling to his feet and offering her his hand. "I didn't mean to knock you down." The girl accepted his help, rising with fluid grace. "No harm done, little one. But you seem distressed. Are you lost?" Finn nodded, suddenly feeling very small and scared. "I can't find my dad. There are so many people, and I don't know where he went." The girl's expression softened with concern. "What is your name, young human?" "Finn Blackwood. My dad's Marcus Blackwood, the chief engineer here." Recognition flickered in her violet eyes. "Ah, yes. Elder Voss has spoken of your father. He says he's an honorable man who treats all species with respect." She placed a gentle hand on Finn's shoulder. "I am Serafina. Come, I'll help you find him." As they walked through the marketplace together, Serafina asked Finn about his life on the station. He found himself chattering away, telling her about his lessons, his toy ships, and his dreams of exploring the galaxy someday. She listened with genuine interest, occasionally laughing at his childish observations about the various alien species they encountered. "You're different from what I expected humans to be like," Serafina admitted as they paused near a fountain carved from what looked like living crystal. "Different how?" Finn asked, looking up at her with curious eyes. "Kinder. More open. Many of my people believe humans are only interested in trade and profit. But you see wonder where others see only opportunity. Finn considered this seriously. My mom used to say that the universe is too beautiful to waste time being mean to each other. She said we should look for the good in everyone we meet. Serafina's eyes glistened with something that might have been tears. Your mother sounds very wise. Where is she now? She died last year, Finn said simply, with the matter-of-fact acceptance that children sometimes show toward loss. But Dad says she's watching over us from the stars. Before Serafina could respond, a familiar voice called out across the marketplace. Finn! There you are. Marcus Blackwood hurried toward them, relief evident on his face. I've been looking everywhere for you, son. You scared me half to death. I'm sorry, Dad. I got lost, but Serafina helped me. Finn turned to introduce his new friend, but paused when he saw the tall, imposing figure approaching them. Elder Voss was ancient even by Zalarian standards, his skin bearing the deep purple-black coloration that came with advanced age. His eyes, though kind, held the weight of centuries. Serafina, he said gently, it's time to return to the ship. We depart within the hour. So soon? Finn's face fell. But we just met. Serafina knelt down so she was at eye level with the small human boy. Our migration cannot wait, little Finn. We must follow the star paths to our next destination. Will I ever see you again? The question came out smaller than Finn intended, carrying all the heartbreak a 6-year-old could feel. Serafina was quiet for a long moment, studying his earnest face. In her culture, promises were sacred things, not to be given lightly. Yet something about this human child, with his open heart and wonder-filled eyes, touched something deep within her soul. Finn Blackwood, she said solemnly, if you truly wish to see me again, then I believe the universe will find a way. But you must grow strong and brave, and never lose that kindness that shines so brightly within you. Finn nodded vigorously. I will. I promise I'll find you again someday. When I'm grown up and can travel the stars myself. Serafina smiled, and it was like watching a sunrise. Reaching into a small pouch at her waist, she withdrew a crystal pendant no larger than Finn's thumb. It pulsed with a soft, warm light that seemed to match the rhythm of a heartbeat. This is a soul-light crystal, she explained, placing it carefully in Finn's palm. My people believe that when two souls are meant to be connected, these crystals will always find their way back to each other. Keep this safe, and remember our meeting. Finn clutched the crystal tightly, feeling its warmth spread through his fingers. I'll keep it forever. And I'll come find you, I promise. Serafina leaned forward and pressed a gentle kiss to his forehead. Then I'll wait for you among the stars, brave little Finn. As Elder Voss led Serafina away, she turned back once to wave goodbye. Finn stood transfixed, watching until her shimmering form disappeared into the crowd. The crystal in his hand pulsed steadily, warm and comforting against his palm. Come on, son, Marcus said gently, placing a hand on Finn's shoulder. It's time to go home. But as they walked back through the now quiet marketplace, Finn kept the crystal pressed close to his heart, and made a silent vow that would shape the rest of his life. Someday, when he was old enough and strong enough, he would keep his promise to the beautiful Zalarian girl who had been kind to a lost human child. The twin moons set over Nebula Station, but in Finn's heart, a new light had been kindled, one that would burn steady and true across all the years and vast distances that lay ahead. 10 years had passed since that magical night on Nebula Station, and 16-year-old Finn Blackwood had grown into a tall, lean young man with determined green eyes and an unwavering sense of purpose. The soul-light crystal still hung around his neck, though now it was hidden beneath the crisp uniform of the Terran Academy for Xenobiology and Interspecies Relations. Blackwood. The sharp voice of Instructor Yamamoto cut through the morning air as Finn hurried across the Academy's courtyard, his arms full of research materials. You're late for your Zalarian linguistics examination. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Finn called back, picking up his pace. He'd been up until dawn in the library again, poring over every scrap of information he could find about Zolarian culture, biology, and social customs. His dorm mate and best friend, Jackson Rivers, constantly teased him about his obsession with those sparkly aliens, but Finn didn't care. Every piece of knowledge brought him closer to understanding Serafina's world. The examination hall was already full when Finn slipped inside, taking his seat next to Jackson, who shot him a knowing look. Jackson was everything Finn wasn't: confident, charismatic, and completely focused on following in his admiral father's footsteps. Where Finn was driven by love, Jackson was motivated by ambition. Late night in the library again? Jackson whispered as they waited for their test tablets to activate. Always, Finn replied, checking to make sure his crystal was still safely tucked beneath his uniform. The pendant had become his talisman, pulsing warmly whenever he felt discouraged or lonely. Professor Winters entered the hall, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun, her pale blue eyes scanning the students with the intensity of someone who had spent decades studying alien cultures. She was Finn's favorite instructor, and the only one who seemed to understand his passionate dedication to Zolarian studies. Today's examination will test not only your linguistic abilities but your cultural comprehension, she announced. You will be presented with various scenarios requiring diplomatic sensitivity and xenobiological knowledge. As the test began, Finn found himself in his element. Questions about Zolarian migration patterns, their complex social hierarchies, and the significance of their bioluminescent skin changes flowed past him easily. This wasn't just academic knowledge for him, it was preparation for a reunion he'd dreamed about every night for 10 years. After the exam, Professor Winters approached Finn as he was gathering his materials. "Walk with me, Mr. Blackwood." They strolled through the Academy's botanical gardens in silence for several minutes before she spoke. "Your test scores in Zolarian studies are exceptional. Perfect, in fact. But I'm curious about your motivation." Finn hesitated. He'd never told anyone the full truth about his promise to Serafina. Most people would think it was childish foolishness. "I believe understanding between species is crucial for our future, Professor." A noble sentiment, but incomplete. Her sharp eyes studied him. "I've been teaching for 30 years, Mr. Blackwood. I can recognize when a student's passion stems from something deeper than academic interest." They paused beside a fountain where earth roses grew alongside Altarian crystal flowers, a living symbol of interspecies harmony. Finn touched the crystal beneath his uniform, drawing strength from its familiar warmth. "When I was 6, I met a Zolarian girl," he admitted quietly. "She was kind to me when I was lost and scared. We made a promise to find each other again." Professor Winters nodded thoughtfully. "And you've spent the last 10 years preparing to keep that promise." "Yes, ma'am." "I know it sounds foolish." "It sounds romantic," she interrupted with a slight smile. "And perhaps exactly what our galaxy needs. Too many humans see aliens as either threats or resources. You see them as people worthy of love and friendship." Finn felt heat rise in his cheeks. "I don't even know if she remembers me. It's been so long, and I was just a child." "The heart remembers what the mind sometimes forgets," Professor Winters said gently. "But if you're serious about this path, you'll need more than just academic knowledge. The Zolarians are a proud people with complex social customs. An outsider seeking to court one of their own faces significant challenges." "Court?" Finn's voice cracked slightly. I mean, we were children. I don't know what she thinks of me now, or if she even." "Mr. Blackwood." Professor Winters placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've dedicated your teenage years to learning everything about her people. You've mastered their language, studied their customs, and excelled in xenobiology, all in preparation for a reunion with someone you met once as a child. That's not the behavior of someone seeking casual friendship." That evening, Finn sat in his dorm room, staring at a holographic star map that showed the known Zolarian migration routes. Jackson lounged on his bed across the room, tossing a regulation plasma ball against the wall. "So, what's the real story with you and the Zolarians?" Jackson asked suddenly. "And don't give me that diplomatic relations speech. I've seen you studying their mating rituals." Finn nearly choked on his water. "I was researching their bonding ceremonies for cultural context." "Right." Jackson grinned. "Come on, Finn. We've been roommates for 3 years. I know you better than anyone. You've got that same look in your eyes that you get when you touch that necklace you think no one notices." Finn sighed, realizing his secret wasn't as well hidden as he'd thought. "There's a girl." "I knew it." Jackson sat up, his eyes bright with interest. "Details." "Now. Her name is Serafina. I met her when I was 6, on Nebula Station. She was the most beautiful, kind person I'd ever met. We only spent a few hours together, but—" Finn trailed off, touching the crystal through his shirt. "But you fell in love with an alien when you were 6 years old," Jackson finished. "Finn, that's either the most romantic thing I've ever heard or the most insane." "Probably both," Finn admitted. "But I made her a promise, Jax. I said I'd find her again when I grew up." Jackson was quiet for a moment, his usual joking demeanor replaced by genuine concern. "Do you have any idea where she is now? The Zolarians don't exactly publish their migration schedules." Finn pulled out his personal communicator and activated a complex tracking program he'd been working on for months. "I've been monitoring deep space communications, cross-referencing Zolarian ship signatures with known trade routes. 3 weeks ago, I intercepted a transmission. The holographic display showed a message in flowing Zolarian script, with a translation scrolling below: Serafina, daughter of Elder Voss, healer of the Second Circle, approaches her 24th year. The Bonding Council has selected suitable matches for consideration." Jackson whistled low. "She's getting married." "She's being forced into an arranged marriage," Finn corrected, his jaw tightening. "The Zolarians have strict social hierarchies. High-ranking families arrange matches for political alliances." "Finn." Jackson's voice was gentle but firm. "You realize this is crazy, right? You're planning to travel across the galaxy to find an alien girl you met once as a child, who's probably forgotten you exist, and convince her to abandon her people's customs for a human she barely knows." The words hit Finn like a physical blow because they voiced all the doubts he'd been fighting for years. But then the crystal against his chest pulsed with warmth, and he remembered violet eyes filled with kindness and a voice like music promising to wait among the stars. "I know how it sounds," Finn said quietly. "But when I was with her, for those few hours, it felt like coming home. Like I'd found a piece of myself I didn't know was missing." Jackson studied his friend's face and saw something there that made him set aside his skepticism. "All right. Let's say you're right. Let's say this is true love spanning the cosmos. How do you plan to find her? The Zolarian fleet could be anywhere in 3 star systems." Finn's eyes lit up with the fervor of someone who had spent years planning for this moment. "I've been tracking their migration patterns, cross-referencing with solar events that affect their biorhythms. Based on the timing of that transmission and the seasonal cycles of their home system, they should be entering the Andromeda trade corridor within the next 6 months. And then what? You can't just walk up to a Zolarian ship and ask to speak to someone." "Actually, I can." Finn pulled up another file on his communicator. "I've been accepted for the Advanced Xenobiology Internship Program. My thesis proposal is on Zolarian bioluminescent healing techniques. It's legitimate research that would require direct contact with their healers." Jackson shook his head in amazement. "You've really thought this through? For 10 years. Finn's voice was steady, but his eyes blazed with determination. "I made her a promise, Jax. I'm going to keep it." Later that night, as Jackson slept, Finn sat by the window looking out at the stars. The crystal around his neck pulsed steadily, and for a moment, he could have sworn he felt an answering pulse from somewhere far away in the darkness. I'm coming, Seraphina, he whispered to the night. I kept my promise to grow strong and brave. Now I'm going to keep my promise to find you. Somewhere in the vast expanse of space, a young Zalarian healer touched a matching crystal and felt her heart skip a beat, though she didn't understand why. The stars seemed to shimmer with possibility, and ancient promises stirred in the depths of her soul. The healing chambers of the Zalarian vessel Starwhisper glowed with soft, ethereal light as Seraphina moved gracefully between the bioluminescent pools. Her skin had deepened to a rich amethyst over the years, marking her as a master healer, and her silver hair now fell in intricate braids adorned with the sacred crystals of her profession. At 24, she was considered one of the most gifted healers in the fleet, her touch capable of mending both body and spirit. But today, her usually steady hands trembled as she tended to an injured trader who had been brought aboard after a cargo accident. The soul-light crystal she wore hidden beneath her robes pulsed with an intensity she hadn't felt in years, sending waves of warmth through her entire being. Healer Seraphina. The trader, a gruff Altarian with blue-scaled skin, looked up at her with concern. Are you well? Your bioluminescence is fluctuating. Seraphina pressed her palm against her chest, feeling the rapid rhythm of her dual hearts. Forgive me. I'm simply distracted today. She forced herself to focus, channeling her healing energy into the trader's damaged arm. The flesh knitted together under her touch, the bone realigning with a soft chime that indicated complete restoration. Remarkable, the trader breathed, flexing his newly healed limb. The stories of Zalarian healing gifts weren't exaggerated. Rest now, Seraphina instructed gently. Avoid heavy lifting for one solar cycle, and the tissue will be stronger than before. As the trader departed, Seraphina found herself alone in the chamber, staring at her reflection in the bioluminescent pools. The face that looked back at her was elegant and serene, but her violet eyes held a restlessness that had been growing stronger with each passing day. Troubled thoughts, young healer. Seraphina turned to find healer Miraleth approaching, her ancient mentor whose skin had taken on the deep purple-black of extreme age. Miraleth had been like a grandmother to her since childhood, teaching her not just the arts of healing but the deeper mysteries of Zalarian culture. I felt something today, Seraphina admitted, unconsciously touching the hidden crystal. A stirring in my spirit light that I haven't experienced since I was young. Miraleth's knowing eyes studied her apprentice. Ah. The restlessness grows stronger as your bonding day approaches. At the mention of her impending arranged marriage, Seraphina's bioluminescence dimmed with distress. Elder Miraleth, must I truly go through with this union? Xander is honorable and kind, but when I look at him, I feel nothing. No spark, no connection of souls. The bonding council chose well, Miraleth said carefully. Xander comes from a respected family, his healing abilities complement yours, and the political alliance would strengthen both our houses. What more could you ask for? Love, Seraphina whispered, the word barely audible. I ask for love. Miraleth sighed, settling onto one of the crystalline meditation cushions. Tell me of this love you seek, child. What is it you dream of? Seraphina closed her eyes, and immediately she was 6 years old again, standing in a marketplace filled with wonders. When I was young, I met a human child. He was lost and frightened, but when I helped him, his eyes lit up with such joy and wonder. He looked at me not as something strange or exotic, but as a friend. As someone precious. The little one from Nebula Station, Miraleth said softly. I remember. You spoke of him often in the years that followed. He made me a promise, Seraphina continued, her voice growing stronger. He said he would find me again when he grew up. That he would be brave and strong. I gave him my soul-light crystal, and you've carried its twin ever since, Miraleth finished. Child, that was a game. The fancy of children. No. Seraphina's eyes snapped open, blazing with conviction. It was real. What I felt with him in those few hours was more genuine than anything I've experienced since. He saw into my heart, Miraleth. He saw me. The old healer was quiet for a long moment. Even if what you say is true, Seraphina, he was human. Their lives are brief flickers compared to ours. He would age and die while you remain young. And there has been no contact between your peoples since that festival. I know, Seraphina said, her voice breaking slightly. I know all the logical reasons why it's impossible. But my heart refuses to accept them. Before Miraleth could respond, the chamber's communication crystal chimed. The holographic image of Elder Voss materialized, his ancient features grave. Seraphina, report to the council chamber immediately. There are matters concerning your bonding that require discussion. As they made their way through the ship's corridors, Seraphina's dread grew with each step. The council chamber was filled with the most senior members of their house, their combined bioluminescence creating a soft aurora of purples and blues. At the center stood Xander, tall and perfectly formed, his healing marks glowing with health and vitality. Ah, Seraphina, Elder Voss greeted her with formal warmth. The bonding council has made their final decision. Your union with Xander will take place in 3 days' time, during the convergence of moons. Seraphina felt the crystal against her chest grow cold. 3 days. But I thought we had more time to. To what? Elder Voss's voice carried a note of warning. To continue this childish reluctance. Seraphina, you are 24 years old. It is past time you accepted your responsibilities to our people. Xander stepped forward, his manner respectful but determined. Seraphina, I know this union was not of your choosing, but I believe we can find happiness together. I offer you my respect, my partnership, and in time, perhaps affection. His words were kind, his offer genuine, but they fell on Seraphina's heart like stones. She looked around the chamber at the expectant faces of her elders, all waiting for her dutiful acceptance. I need time to prepare myself, she managed to say. Of course, Elder Voss nodded approvingly. Use these 3 days wisely, child. Meditate on your duties and the honor being bestowed upon you. As the council dispersed, Seraphina fled to her private quarters, her composure finally cracking. She sank onto her sleeping alcove, pulling the soullight crystal from beneath her robes. The small pendant pulsed weakly, its light dim and flickering. Finn, she whispered to the empty room, speaking his name for the first time in years. I don't even know if you remember me, but I remember you. I remember your promise, your brave little heart, the way you looked at me like I was something wonderful. Tears of liquid light traced down her cheeks as she pressed the crystal to her lips. I know I'm being foolish. I know you're probably married to someone of your own kind by now, with children and a life I could never be part of. But I can't stop hoping. I can't stop believing that somewhere among the stars, you're still the boy who promised to find me. The crystal suddenly flared with brilliant light, so bright that Seraphina gasped and nearly dropped it. For a moment, she could have sworn she felt another presence, another heart beating in rhythm with hers. The sensation was so vivid that she looked around her quarters, half expecting to see a familiar figure with green eyes and dark hair. But she was alone, as she had been for 10 years. 3 days, she murmured, clutching the crystal tightly. In 3 days, I'll be bound to another, and this dream will finally die. Yet even as she spoke the words, a part of her refused to surrender hope. The crystal's light had been too bright, too real, too perfectly timed to be mere coincidence. Somewhere in the vast expanse of space, she was certain Finn Blackwood was thinking of her, just as she was thinking of him. If you're coming, she whispered to the stars beyond her window, please hurry. I don't know how much longer I can wait. The crystal pulsed once more, warm and steady, as if answering her plea. And in that moment, Seraphina made a decision that would change everything. She would not go quietly into this arranged union. If Finn was truly coming for her, she would find a way to delay the bonding ceremony, to buy them both more time. After all, some promises were worth waiting for, even if it meant defying the expectations of an entire civilization. Outside her window, The stars seemed to shimmer with possibility, and somewhere among them, a young man with determined green eyes was racing against time to keep a promise made by a lost child to a kind alien girl who had never forgotten his face. The final act of their story was about to begin.